Assalamu alaikum, family, peace, healing, and light, and welcome back to another episode of Healing with Angelica's podcast, where we discuss all things healing. And if you are new to the show, again, welcome, 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 beautiful souls. On today's episode, we have an amazing brother joining us today. Brother Tariq Muhammad, as we'll be discussing today's topic: cardiovascular wellness, understanding and managing heart health. Brother Tariq, thank you and welcome so much for joining me today. How are you?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me. I'm wonderful. How are you? By Allah's grace and mercy, of course. How are you?
Yes, yes, by Allah's grace, I am well. I am well. Thank you again for joining me. Now, for those who may not know who my brother is, do you mind letting our audience know just a little bit more about you?
Yes. Of course, as mentioned before, my name is Tariq Muhammad. I currently reside in Richmond, Virginia, under Muhammad Mosque number 24. Third generation FOI. I'm proud of that. Very proud. My grandparents came into the nation in the 1960s.
Mm.
Um, Mother was born into it. Father came into it in the 80s. And then, of course, I was born into it. Um, let me see. Trained biomedical scientist. My background is in cardiovascular pathology, which is the study of how diseases form in the heart and in the blood vessels.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm a trained CPR instructor. I teach CPR first aid. So not only do I know the ins and outs of heart disease and cardiovascular issues on the clinical level and on the laboratory side, I also understand it in the emergency side as well with treating patients who have emergency cardiac issues.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I also am the founder and chief operating officer of Original Man Scientific, which is a growing research and development company. I'm also one third of the STEM Files trio, where we highlight the best and the brightest in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics in the Black and Brown community. That's pretty much it, in a nutshell. I'm looking forward to building more on the platform.
Yes, yes, yes. I love it. Thank you so much for that. Praise be to Allah. Now let's get started on today's episode: cardiovascular wellness, understanding and managing heart health. And please, for my audience today, do not hesitate. This is the best time to ask those health questions. Do not hesitate to put any questions you may have for our guest that is in relation to today's topic to our guest brother Tariq Muhammad in the comment box below. So, day to day, our hearts work tirelessly to keep us alive, right? Yet we often overlook them. However, understanding how our heart function and the impact of our lifestyle choices will and can aid in living a healthier, longer life. Today, we will dive deep into practical tips and insights to help you manage and improve your heart health. Your journey to a stronger heart starts now. And that brings me to my first question for you, Brother Tariq. Now, I always go to like exactly where everything began with you. I know you gave us just a brief bio of you working in the field, but what initially inspired your journey in the healthcare field and the study of the cardiovascular system?
Well, my mother played a huge role in that. She told me she always used to tell me when I was coming up that my goal, I used to talk about being a doctor from the time I was a toddler, right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
my mother's never lied to me, so I believe her. I don't remember that, but I definitely believe her on that. So ever since she told me that, and ever since I realized that I was attracted to medicine and science and things along those lines, I studied all I could. My mother, we did a few years in the public school system, and then around fourth grade, she decided to take our education into her own hands, and she began homeschooling my sister and I in around 2004 up until 2009. And she didn't necessarily believe in grade levels. So there was an unlimited amount of information that I had access to and that I could study. I was studying medical encyclopedias at 9, 10 years old. I had known at least, I knew all the body systems. I knew all of their diseases, all the things that can go wrong with them by the time I was 13 years old. And from then, it was just a matter of, okay, now that I have all this information, what's going to come into my life that's going to make this information worth it, right? So fast forward, I'm 16, I'm in the 11th grade, and I finally found out why my grandmother had passed from what she was going through. And come to find out, she was suffering from colon issues, but her heart at the time just wasn't able to maintain or to handle the procedure that she went through. So so I was already in love with the heart, already in love with studying the circulatory system and the cardiovascular system. But as a teenager, that kind of intensified the passion and the love I had for the human body. So I went with that, took it as far as I could, and I'm still taking it as far as I can. You know, but yeah, that's pretty much what inspired me to get into that. It was always an initial love, but of course, when things happen to you in life and you go through things and you experience things, these are the things that really kind of test it and make it tried and true. And Allah blesses you if this is what you really want to do.
Absolutely. I love it. Praise be to Allah. As you were speaking and telling your story and you spoke on your grandmother, you made me think about just stress. I'm not for sure if that may have been the case, but you said that it was the procedure that her heart probably couldn't take it.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you can finish.
Yeah. So basically, in any operation, especially any major operation,
Mhm.
one of the things that has to be strong enough to handle the procedure is your heart. So your heart goes through. Your heart is going through tremendous amount of stress right now as we're speaking. So imagine you're getting an operation done on whether it's your brain, your lungs, your colon, your stomach. The heart has to be able to still continue to pump blood. If you're not on a heart lung machine, you really wouldn't be on that unless you're having a heart procedure itself.
Mhm.
But unless unless your heart is going through, unless you have a healthy heart, it's going to struggle in that particular procedure. So those are the types of things that you have to consider whenever you're getting an operation. Like, what's the current state of your body? Is it strong than that kind of operation?
Mhm.
Because your
Mhm.
heart still has to pump through all those different things that it's going through. The anesthesia has to pump through, uh, whatever types of medication that they put you on while you're under the anesthesia has to be able to withstand the operation itself. Like, can you stand being, operated on at that particular time? So there's a lot of factors that go into that.
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of made me think about when I was pregnant with my son. Only during that time, I had a heart murmur.
Mm,
And I guess my body just, it was a lot. But
yeah,
after I had my son, that heart murmur went away. And also, I was just thinking about probably the amount of stress my body was going through, of course, creating a life, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I want to kind of get into just like what determines a good heart health? Like, how could one determine that, they have a healthy heart? Is there like things that people can do or they can check to determine good heart health?
Absolutely. First and foremost, blood pressure.
Mm.
Blood pressure is a very, very telling sign. Blood pressure is something that anybody can take. While they're at home. This not That's not something that you have to go to the doctor's office to do. If you go for a walk and you realize you're out of breath and you're not able to. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I'm gonna say this. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that walking is the best exercise, right?
Mhm.
And we tend to overcomplicate exercise and overcomplicate fitness. And if we start with just the basics like walking, doing some sit-ups and stuff like that. But if you realize, you're going for a walk and you say, I'm gonna do a mile today, and you realize that your mile is a struggle.
Mhm.
And if you have a smartwatch and you realize and your heart rate is telling you it's damn near 150, approaching 170,
Mhm.
then there's some signs here that your heart may be going through some issues because your heart, walking is your heart is in a is in a resting state, not a resting state, but a resting to, it's in a resting state, but it's climbing, right? But it shouldn't climb to the point where your heart is struggling because you're just walking. Now, unless you're jogging or something like that, then maybe, but you just got to be mindful of those signs, right? If you're walking up a flight of stairs and you realize, I just did 3 flights, but I'm struggling. Like I'm looking, my body's here, my soul's over there.
Yeah.
So you gotta be mindful of all those things. Also, too, chest pain. Chest pain is another sign. Sometimes chest pain can be a sign of dehydration, or a myriad of other things. But chest pain can be a sign that you're in poor cardiovascular health. If you realize that, every time you eat certain foods, things happen. Like you get headaches, you get sluggish or something like that. That's another sign that you may have some cardiovascular issues. So there's a whole bunch of things. We ignore the little stuff, and we take for granted our body's ability to tell us what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And some of us suffer for it. But I encourage anybody that if you experience some of these things that I just mentioned, to definitely get a checkup. I'm not saying you got to go get a stress test or nothing like that. That's of course with the recommendation of your physician, but just do your due diligence. If you realize you're going through something, you realize that you feel a certain way after doing certain things, it's definitely worth getting it checked out.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Wow. Um, our body tells us a lot. It's just that we just have to get more aware of ourselves and be more aware and recognizing these things. Because, like you said, sometimes we can just, not saying verbatim, but just we can bypass just the way that our body is telling us if things are off. I think with my experience with me, what I went through in my pregnancy, and then afterwards seeing the change of just how I was feeling and how my body was just trying to adjust. Um, I can tell that it was something going on to where I went and got checked and found out I had a thyroid issue because I was having consistent heart palpitations, which it was super scary. I'm young. So I'm like, what's going on here? So that actually takes me to my next question. I also see we have a question here from Sister Sabrina, which I will ask next. I want to just talk about just like, I think a lot of us, especially young folks, um, don't really think too much about us having to check on those things because we're young versus someone that is older. So what is your take on just the age and just making sure we keep track of our heart health? Like, does that matter or?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, it definitely does. The heart is a very, very powerful organ. By the time you are 2 years old, you've already pumped millions of gallons
Mm.
of blood already. Now, even though this organ is strong, and even though it's designed to withstand the pressure and the work and the effort that is going through, you have to think about the heart. The heart beats 60 to 100 times a minute, right? So if you think about it like that, we're going on about our lives. We just doing what we do, but the heart is busy, boom, 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 working, working, working. So think about it like that. We get tired, the heart gets tired, right? So because the heart is doing much more work than we are, we have to understand that the heart is under a great responsibility. So it's really up to us to really, you know, take responsibility for what's going on, even at a young age. Because, like I said before, from the time you're born, your heart is just working. It's working tirelessly. And the different things that we go through in life put stress on that heart. So it doesn't matter if you're 24 or 74. You should definitely be aware of what's going on with your heart because
Mhm.
it's working hard from day one.
Yes, yes, yes. So we're going to go ahead and put the question up here from Sister Sabrina Muhammad. She asks, Brother Tariq, can you give clarity to heart attack, MI, heart injury, and heart death?
Sure,
Oh,
can you keep that up there? So I'm gonna
yeah,
go. All
yeah,
right.
yeah. You good?
So basically, and then shout out to Sister Sabrina. She has a background similar to mine as well. She's here with me in Richmond, Virginia, on the Ministry of Health team. So heart attack. So man, I knew she was gonna do this. So heart attack and MI. are pretty much the same thing, right? So MI stands for myocardial infarction. So myocardial infarction is pretty much the scientific name for heart attack. So a heart attack is basically the heart is a pump, right? And it's making sure that blood gets throughout the body or what have you. But the heart muscle needs its own blood too. And the heart muscle has a group of arteries sitting on top of the muscle called coronary arteries, right? Coronary means crown. They sit on top of the heart muscle like a crown. And sometimes, based on what we eat, what we do, maybe the stresses that we're going through in life, sometimes the arteries that sit on top of this heart muscle can become blocked. Right? The heart, like I said, the heart needs its own muscle, needs its own blood supply. So when a blockage on one of those arteries occurs, then the heart will begin to experience what's called an attack or an infarction. This infarction causes issues with the heart's ability to pump. It causes issues with the heart's rhythm, and oftentimes, as you've seen on TV or on movies, or if you've gone if you had a family member that went through this, they describe the feeling as an impending doom feeling, or a massive amount of pressure in their chest or what have you. Start clenching their arm or depending on how the symptoms present itself. So yeah, the heart goes through this infarction or this attack because there's a blockage in that artery. Now, heart injury is when after the blockage occurs, the heart becomes injured or the infarction causes an injury, right? So say, for example, if it's blocking one of the arteries in the middle of the heart, right? That middle portion of the heart can become damaged. And that in turn presents itself as an injury. Now, heart death is when particular part of the heart, the muscles and the heart cells that are in that particular part of the heart begin to die. Right. So that's when you have to get, some people get surgery, they get the bypass grafts, they get an artery taken out of their leg and it's placed onto their heart to replace the damage that was done on that particular part of the heart. Because 9 times out of 10, most of the time, that part of the heart that's damaged is irreversible because it's gone so long without oxygen, it just dies. So you need something to replace that missing blood flow on top of that within that heart muscle. So you get your bypass graft. Some people get stents to maybe open up before it even gets to being heart death. Some people get stents to kind of open up the blood vessel to make sure that they can get that blood flow to restore that part of the heart. But if you catch it in time and you do some measures that can intervene with that process, then you can prevent heart death. And then, of course, to take it even further, you have cardiac arrest. And arrest is when the heart is under so much stress and under so much infarction, so much attack that it stops, right? So oftentimes people mix heart attack up with cardiac arrest. Heart attack is just an attack. It's just a disturbance. Whereas arrest, think about the difference between attack and arrest, right? Just off the word definition. Attack, something's attacking you, whereas arrest, something's stopping you or preventing you from doing something. So now a heart attack is not the only thing that can cause a cardiac arrest. Sometimes it can be like what happened to our brother Damar Hamlin on the football field. A blow to the chest can cause a cardiac arrest. But sometimes, when the heart attacker is taking its course and it's gone, but to a certain extent, your heart can't stop from that.
You broke every last one of them down. I just learned so much. Wow. Praise be to Allah. Thank you so much for that.
And I hope, Sister Sabrina, I hope I answered your question when it came to heart. that last one, it can mean a various amount of things.
Oh yeah. I believe you went in depth with that. Thank you for explaining that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So I see we have another question here from Marcus Toussaint Muhammad. He asks, peace, I have a question. Can you please tell us the long and short-term damage eating pork has on the heart? Ooh.
Sure. Well, let's come at it from I'm gonna break it down from the simplest to more complex. So, in the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that it's best to not eat meat at all, right? And if you eat the meat, you eat the best of the meat. You eat the best of what Allah has given us. Now, we all know that pork is not something Allah has given us. It's not for us. And it is a forbidden animal. Now, when you eat meat in general, meat itself already is putting stress on the heart. Mm-hmm. Whether it's beef, lamb, chicken, whatever you want to call it. So those are meats that are allowed. So imagine the kind of stress that's being put on the heart for something that's forbidden. Right? So now we have an animal that's made of the cat, the rat, the dog. It's got all these different types of things in there. It's a very poisonous animal. It's a very filthy, stupid animal. And then you got all these different diseases that the meat can cause. The trichina worm and different types of parasitic activity that the meat produces in the body. And over time, as we talked about heart attacks earlier, over time, when things start to collect in the bloodstream that don't belong there, they create blockages. And nothing creates things that don't belong in the bloodstream more than the swine. So over time, people will be like, oh, I was raised on swine. It's never been, it's never done anything to my family, or my grandmother lived such and such years, this, that, and the third, and we think that living 80 years is long.
Yeah.
That's not long at all. We used to live thousands of years. Some of us have seen over 100 years old. That's long. Over 100, that's long in most societies, right? Some worlds, people are living up to 200. So we gotta be mindful of that part. But short-term damage, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. You have your heart is beginning to pump against pressure that is through the roof. We may be used to eating pork, but we also don't realize that we're used to high blood pressure because we're not really monitoring what's going on with our blood pressure or with our cholesterol. And then these things start to pile up and become atherosclerosis, which is a build-up blockage in the heart, or hypertension, which is a uncontrolled diseased high blood pressure. And things just get clinically, clinically inappropriate. Now, I'm trying not to use so many big words, but trying to be very layman with it. But yeah, those are the short term. The meat itself already is causing stress. So the types of things that the heart already does to the body is going to create even more. That the pig does to the body is going to create even more.
Yes. If y'all listening, honestly, I stopped eating meat. You know what? I can't say that. Is fish meat? I eat fish here and there.
That's better than animals and cows and birds.
I stopped eating meat now. What is it going on? It's going on 4 years now. Yeah, okay. I think 3 or 4 years. But I eat fish occasionally, not as much, but just the difference that my body feels just like staying away from that. And honestly, when you think about just the how digestion starts, it starts in the mouth. And a lot of us, we're not even chewing our food down all the way so it can actually go in and process. And so it's a lot that really goes into just diet and eating and everything within that. So yes, praise be to Allah. I love it.
And just to add to that, we have you said digestion starts in the mouth, right? So when we're looking at enzymes, right? Enzymes are molecules that help break down certain things, and they also help speed up chemical reactions. Now, remember when I said that meat is really not meant for human consumption, and if we do eat meat, eat the best of it. But if we're eating the worst of it, if we're eating the forbidden meat, or meat that Allah said not to eat, then we're ingesting something that our salivary glands that are producing these enzymes don't even recognize.
Wow.
So imagine going through the mosque and you're going through check procedure, and the person that's checking you is not checking you, they're just letting you walk right on by. That's what's happening with the pork, right? It's just going right on by all of the defenses that we have, our salivary glands, the enzymes, the immune system, bypassing all that, because the body is like, look, what is this? What am I supposed to do with this?
Mm-hmm.
So now it's becoming dangerous, and it happens with all types of meat. When you eat pork, it's so forbidden. The body's like, yo, a lot of them already told you what you got going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Brother Jabril, don't laugh at me. uh, praise be to Allah.
Shout out to my right hand, Jabril.
Yes, yes. Shout out to the STEM files. We love you guys.
Dr.
Yes,
Jordan.
yes. Praise be to Allah. And if you all are enjoying this episode just as well as I am, this is so many great gems. Listen, I know I talk about healing with Angelica. We talk about everything, health and wellness, mental, all that, spirituality. So I pray you guys are enjoying this episode just as well as I am. Please show your support by texting the word donate to 937-313-2466 today to help sustain future episodes just like this one. And also, if you are enjoying all of the broadcasts here on CTG Broadcast, please show your support as well by donating today. Information to donate will be shown on your screen below. I love you all. Now let's get back to today's episode, Cardiovascular Wellness, Understanding and Managing Heart Health with Brother Tariq Muhammad. Praise be to Allah. So I wanted to go to our next question. Looks like we got a few questions here. And one is from your brother.
Okay.
So I'm probably gonna say this wrong. What is bradycardia?
You said it right.
Great. And why is this condition potentially less serious for those of us who are more physically active? During a past EKG, I had a scare, but later found out that I was fine.
Yeah. So bradycardia, let's break down the word, right? We're all about terminology. Brady means slow, and cardia means heart. So bradycardia is pretty much just a slow heart rate or slow heart rhythm. Tachycardia is fast heart rhythm, fast heart rate. And, this condition is potentially less serious for those who are more physically active, because bradycardia can be corrected with, as long as you continue to stay active, right? So remember when I talked about, the heart working hard, and it's already done pumped millions of gallons of blood by the time you an infant. That rhythm that the heart goes, that the rhythm that the heart has is very crucial in the way the heart beats. So if the rhythm is off, then the beating is off. And if the beating is off, then the blood pressure is off. And then you begin to experience issues, right? So with bradycardia, when things are slowing down, you have to realize that the heart is on your time. If we do right by our hearts, then they perform better. So Jabril, great shape, young brother. He really, the body realized, okay, the rhythm's a little slow here, but as long as he keeps doing what he's doing, then he'll be fine. So that's all it is. It can be dangerous to those who are, living sedentary lifestyles, who don't do much, sit around the house, have issues with their bodies already, or the tachycardia can definitely cause an issue, because the faster the heart rate, the harder the heart is working, and that can create an even greater issue. That can go into some of the things that we talked about before with the heart attack and cardiac arrest and different things. Yeah, that's pretty much why a person who's more physically active can experience bradycardia and overcome that.
Thank you for breaking that down. I've heard of that too. I've definitely heard of I think it started with a T. You said it. Teracardia?
Tachycardia?
Yeah. I've heard of that a lot, but I never heard of that one. So, wow.
Yeah, because that one is not as common as the tachycardia.
Okay. Yeah.
Bradycardia is usually something you experience when the heart is slowing down or going into cardiac arrest, slowing down or going into maybe you begin to have symptoms of a heart attack. But though that's a natural symptom, because of course the heart is now struggling, so of course it's going to slow down.
Right.
But when you're healthy and you have a slowed down heart rhythm, then that can be corrected with just kind of picking up the pace a little bit, or keep,
Mm-hmm.
or to continue to do what you're doing.
Absolutely. All right, we're gonna get to our next question here. Y'all coming through with the questions today. Okay, so we got a question here from Brother Tony Muhammad, my brother. Assalamu alaikum. Heart attacks in people ages 25 to 44 has increased by 30% in the past 3 years. It definitely has. Can you expound on the importance of raising children on practicing health conscious activities and teaching them why it is important?
Sure. Well, we all know what happened in the past 3 years. We dealt with COVID-19, and we dealt with understand. Matter of fact, COVID really, and I still call it the great indicator, right?
Mm.
COVID really kind of showed a lot of people what they were going through and didn't know it. So it's important that you raise children and practice health conscious activities, because they're when you walk outside your door, when you wake up in the morning, you are bombarded with things that can affect your health. So it's important that we understand, first and foremost, we need to know all the systems of the body, because these are things that, and I'm not saying you have to know every little detail. You don't have to know the name of every bone, but you have to know that these things are here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that when things happen, you can understand what's going on, ask the right type of questions, or what have you. See, health conscious is not about, uh, meditating on the beach. That's
Yeah.
great. But meditating on the beach, or you hiking up Mount Everest or something like that, those things are great. But health conscious really starts with education, being
Mm-hmm.
able to understand the body. The body is a very autonomous machine, and when we do right by it, things handle itself. But when we put it through the things that we put it through, we begin to experience problems. So just understanding, the body, understanding, okay, what may go wrong with this particular part of the body, like we're talking about the heart, right? What are some of the things that can go wrong with the cardiovascular system? Just basic information that can help guide you along the way. You know, Make sure that we're up on our vitamins and minerals, because you know, COVID-19, it showed people that, look, you got COVID, but you may not be experiencing COVID symptoms, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
showing you that you deficient in something, because now you're starting to have problems that you ain't never felt before and never experienced. So being able to just maintain the basics, and have those sit downs with your family, being like, look, if we do such and such, we can avoid some of the things that our ancestors went through, or what have you. But as our brother said, you can be 25 years old and going through, cardiovascular issues, like we mentioned earlier on in the show. So it's just all about education, being able to understand the body, and what are some of the things that can go wrong if we do certain things, and how to maintain everything, to make sure that nothing happens.
Mm. Yes, yes. Praise be to Allah. Thank you for breaking that down. I definitely can say COVID.
Yeah, that was the
COVID exposed a lot.
yeah that's the great indicator, and I stand on that forever, because it really showed people, that that may not have that may have never known
Mm-hmm.
what was going on had they not had COVID. So there's a plus side to it. Of course, it had more negative, but there are things that COVID did do, or that the pandemic in itself did do, for us to kind of
Mm-hmm.
pay more attention to what's going on.
Absolutely, it did. Absolutely. So I see we have another question here from Zatima X Brown.
Yes, ma'am. More Ministry of Health team in Richmond. Yes, ma'am.
I know that's right. Y'all come through with the questions. All right. Greetings, beloved. What impact does illness have on our heart? Will a health episode lead to heart damage?
Yeah. And of course, depending on what illness we're talking about, all illnesses for that matter affect the heart. We have to understand that the heart is like the main highway
Mm-hmm.
in the body, right? Everything comes through it. When you out whatever city you're in, whatever main highway that you have, you realize that all the traffic comes through that, and in some way it hits it or what have you. Like in Richmond, it's Broad Street, right? Most of the traffic, most of Richmond hits Broad Streets in some way, unless they, not really going from one part of the city to another on the street, the streetway. But it's the main highway. Everything goes through it. All the things that are in our blood system, all of that goes through the heart and has to travel from one part of the body to the next. So if we're dealing with something, let's say a thyroid issue, right? Thyroid's the main thyroid hormone that's necessary to the main products that are necessary to produce the thyroid hormone is iodine. And when we eat foods rich in iodine, it circulates throughout the body. It gets the necessary things it needs to become the thyroid hormone eventually. Mm-hmm. So all of these things, they have to pass through the heart. And whatever condition we're dealing with, if we have so much as like, say, leukemia or diabetes, these things are issues that happen that are focused heavy in the blood system, in the bloodstream. So when the bloodstream is dealing with issues, then the heart's going to deal with issues because it has to pass through the heart. It has to come through. So that's why it's said that diabetes can cause heart disease. Mm-hmm. Because if the insulin in the bloodstream is not controlled, then it can create problems in the heart and start causing blockages. So yeah, all illnesses affect the heart because everything has to pass through it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Even neurological illnesses, where we're dealing with Alzheimer's and different things like that, the brain has a lot to do with how the organs function. And if the brain starts to fail, the organs can begin to fail. And one of the top organs that can begin to fail, and that's why Alzheimer's can eventually, take out a loved one, is because it's affecting the circulatory system. Mm. And that system the system that we're talking about today is very sensitive to different things like that. So absolutely. Yeah. Illness definitely plays has an effect on our heart health. Any illness.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, any type of illness, like even just a common cold and flu. That's right. Like I know, praise be to Allah. Since I changed my diet, like I rarely get sick. But I was sick one time, and like when I say my heart was just boom, 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 I'm sweating, just having that cold and fever like symptoms, and you can just feel the heart just trying to work through it. So in my mind, of course, because I had the scare in the past with my thyroid and it was messing with my heart, palpitations and stuff, it kind of had me kind of worried. But I'm like, me personally, I just let my body go through the process and like not manipulate it with no drugs or anything. Just let my body go through the process of what it needs to do. And I knew in that time that, okay, my heart's going to feel a little more stronger because I'm sick. I'm trying to get rid of whatever is going on with me. So yeah, it really does play an effect in everything. Like the heart is the center. Yeah. So like you said, everything, that happens neurologically, physically, it goes through the heart. So yeah, it's so important. Yeah. I want to.
I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
We also have to remember that the heart is really meant to take a lot. Like I was saying before, it's done a significant amount of work from the time you were born. Mm. So when we are going through a common cold, or we're going through something that our body can recognize and fight off or what have you, then the heart pushes through that. Okay, the heart understands what's going on here because its job is to withstand pressure. So if it's already withstanding pressure from the blood, then of course, we should be able to withstand from other things. It's when we're going through things that is not expected, or the body this is not something that you should be dealing with, then you start experiencing, issues. But a common cold, that's something that, the body is accustomed to. It knows what this is. It can deal with this. But pneumonia, that's not common. That's not something that you just go through. So that's when the heart starts to really begin to struggle. and some people, don't really deal with pneumonia very well because of how it affects the heart.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. Thank you for breaking that down, bro. So I
Yes, ma'am.
want to get into because I heard that you're like the Navy beanologist.
Navy beanologist. I mean, I've been studying the Navy being since I was 16 years old, on the medical level. Matter of fact, I'm gonna tell you a story. So, I didn't want to wait until I became a doctor to make a difference in medicine. So I was, just going, sitting in my bed as a teenager, just thinking of stuff I can come up with, or things I could study to make a difference in people's lives. And I was like, well, I'm overlooking the flagship crop in the Nation of Islam, something I've been growing up on for years, and that's the Navy bean, right? So I just began studying it. I began taking it into the laboratory when I got my the different research positions that I was blessed to receive. And the more training I got, the more I was able to do with the bean and exploring it and seeing what it can do. And yeah, I've been going at it ever since then.
Yes, yes, I love it. That makes me that takes me to my next question. Like how does in like I said even before just like what I had went through with just my thyroid and stuff like I had to change my diet. It was a must in order for my body to like be in a harmonious state because my diet was not the best. So, how does diet and nutrition impact cardiovascular wellness?
There is no cardiovascular wellness without nutrition.
Mm,
Let's be real. Um, we, like I said before, with exercise and fitness, we overcomplicate nutrition as well. We spend so much time trying to figure out maybe I can eat this meal and do this right here, or maybe if I modify it like this or do this or what have you. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad already gave us a very simple way of eating and a very simple way to look at nutrition. One meal a day with the right foods. That is the best nutrition. Nutrition is not food per se.
mm-hmm.
It's the way food is prepared, it's what type of food, and then how that food impacts our bodies over time. That is nutrition. Nutrition is not just, oh, if I eat this pineapple instead of eating a pizza at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm good. No, the fact that you ate at 2 o'clock in the morning is you just completely that's negating the nutrition.
Yeah.
So we gotta keep that in mind. Exactly. How do you live books 1 and 2? I was gonna use them as props just now, but
Yeah.
I forgot. But yeah, so nutrition is very key. We have to understand, the proper foods to eat at what particular time. Having an understanding of the human body, like I was saying before, because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us these books, but it's also still up to us to do our due diligence as to why these things are the best. And he talks about it somewhat in the books, but we can take it further. Like the teachers aren't meant for us to look at it from a surface level. You're supposed to unpack them. So when you're given information, especially from anything from the teachers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we're supposed to be willing to study these things and go deeper into them
Yeah.
to understand why he said this, why he said stay away from that or stay away from this. So there's no cardiovascular health, wellness, nothing like that without the proper nutrition.
You broke it down. Like you answered the question right then and there. There is no cardiovascular wellness without proper nutrition. Like it's just no. So I love it. Praise be to Allah. We are winding down. So if you guys have any last questions, go ahead and put them on here. If you guys are enjoying today's episode, a very well needed episode, especially in the time that we are in, put the fires in the comment box. Okay. So I did have if any more questions doesn't pop up, I do have just one last question to ask. I really want to go into just some. I think you kind of talked about it earlier in the show. However, what are some effective? Because I think a lot of the times, I think we're just stressed people. You know, stress is just everywhere.
Everywhere. I'm saying, life be like,
America is stressful, like just being
right?
here, you know? So
Man,
it's just like, whoo, okay, wow. And like stress, unfortunately, can, cause some effects on the heart. And sometimes we may not be even aware that we're even stressed. But I think just actually just doing things on a daily, to reduce stress is important. So what are some effective stress reduction techniques that can benefit heart health?
stress reduction techniques. Okay, well, first and foremost, prayer. You gotta have a strong connection with Allah. You may not make salat, but have do some type of prayer. And for those who are watching who may not understand salat, salat is the actual physical performing of prayer on the rug and the steps of and the rakahs, which are the steps of salat. But yeah, of course, that strong connection with Allah, staying away from negative people. If you realize that certain groups or certain uh, individuals present a great amount of stress on you, then these are things you should stay away from. Not that they're you're not disrespecting the person.
Mm-hmm.
You realize, okay, look, I'm always stressed out. You're always taking me there. We not killers, but don't so we tend to to tolerate things or individuals or environments that stress us out. Maybe it may be work related, it may be family related, but there are ways you can control that. Even if it's just getting away for a few hours, being able to break free from the monotony and the day-to-day stresses. Of course, going on trips. You know, going out of town every once in a while, just to get away from the stress and the not having to focus on what it is that you're going through right now is very therapeutic. And also too, enjoying spending time with people and things that make you happy. Don't hold back on the happiness. If you realize that this is something that makes you happy, if you realize that going for walks, hiking, training in martial arts, whatever it is that you like to do, if you realize it gives you a great sense of happiness, that happiness fuels the cardiovascular system. So being happy all the time, being well, you know, being well fed when it comes to happiness is very important. And also too, um, realizing your purpose in life. Blessed is the one who finds their purpose in life. That's great on the cardiovascular system because
Yes.
if you realize, okay, this is what I want to do in my life, it presents a greater sense of happiness and satisfaction, and that helps to stabilize the human body. There's a lot of science behind that we don't talk about, but it's very important that we do that.
Yes, yes, yes. I love it. We cannot leave out prayer. Woo!
Right.
Listen, that's the very first thing we should do to release some stress. So yes,
Yeah,
praise be to Allah. Now, as I'm looking, I'm not gonna lie, I got like two questions I have to ask.
absolutely, go for it.
So I think this is very, very important as well for those because yeah, it's been a I want to say a big rise, but it's always been just in the consumption of smoking and alcohol, especially during the time I believe of COVID, just because of the us being in sheltered in place and stuff in that matter. So how do smoking and alcohol consumption influence heart health?
Mm, wow, that's a loaded question. And that goes back to the heart being the main highway. Everything goes to the heart. So alcohol is an enemy to the body. I don't care what anyone says. Oh, red wine's good for your heart. That's a load of crap. And don't ever let anybody tell you that. Smoking, of course, damages the lungs, and anything that damages the lungs is going to in turn damage the heart. We don't want to put anything in our bodies that is not meant to be there. That's when the stress happens. So alcohol does not process well in the bloodstream. And when it doesn't process well in the bloodstream, it starts to stick. Things that the breakdown of that product begins to poison not only the gut, but it begins to stick to the walls of the arteries. And when things start sticking to the walls of the arteries, the heart has a hard time pumping the blood, getting to the rest of the body, and it causes problems like heart attacks, strokes, different things along those lines. And the same thing with cigarettes. These byproducts enter the bloodstream, they enter the respiratory tract, and they go through the heart. Like I said, it's the main highway. You are not going to put anything in your body that doesn't go through the heart in some way. So we have to understand that with the heart being the main highway and that nucleus for transportation of products throughout the body, we have to, be mindful of the things that we're putting in it. And alcohol and cigarettes and smoking is just not it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's really like a foreign substance to the body. It's like,
That's
whoa, this is not,
so right.
what's going on, you know?
Yeah, and then
So,
we like we were saying before, we're stressed out people, and these are some of the things that we use to kind of alleviate ourselves of the stress. Most of us aren't just smoking and drinking just cause, we're doing it to escape from something or to deal with something, right? We don't want to experience the pain of what we're going through, or we don't know how to deal with that pain, so we cope with food, we cope with cigarettes, we cope with alcohol, we cope with other things that are damaging to the human body. So it's the stress, it's having to cope, it's having to deal with these things, and this is why I'm so thankful for the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and of course as taught by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because they're the ones that gave us the tools to deal with the things that we go through in life, whether it's Dianetics, whether it's How to Live, whether it's the self-improvement study guides. These are things that we use to help eliminate some of these things. So we don't have to turn to food. We don't have to turn to alcohol. We don't have to turn to cigarettes or marijuana or anything along those lines. So yeah, I thank Allah for that, because I can be a scientist all day,
yeah.
but the chief scientist gave us the tools that we need to really make a difference for our people.
Yes, indeed. We really have everything we need to be healthy. Praise be to Allah. I want to end off with this question here for everyone, because I made a comment earlier just about how there's really, well, I wanted you to get in depth about it, and you did, just in regards to the age of, just doesn't matter if the age as far as getting checked for your heart and stuff in that matter. But can you just talk about the actual benefits for anyone in all ages to constantly, not constantly, but regularly get cardiovascular screening?
Absolutely. Well, as we were talking about before, the heart is working hard from day one. So as if you can, you know, get regular checkups on your heart on a consistent basis, I encourage you to do so, because this organ is going through a lot. It's not going to tell you everything. I'm going to say that again. It's not going to tell you everything. It may give you signs here and there, but it's not going to tell you everything. You may have something sitting in your heart the size of a golf ball. You may not know it until you start experiencing problems. Or you may have blockages in your arteries that, if you don't go to the hospital, within the next couple of months, or get checked out within the next couple of months, these things can become, life-threatening. And they're already life-threatening because they don't belong there. So we just got to be mindful. The heart it's a strong organ, so it's going to take a lot before it really tells you what's going on. So it's going to be like, you know what, I got it. Just You know how when your wife goes shopping, they got a whole bunch of grocery bags, and the husband don't let her lift a thing. He got all the bags. He got all the bags on his arms and what have you. That's what the heart is doing. It's like, you know what? Nah, I got you. I'm going through it. You put me through a lot, but I got you. But it's only can only take but so much, but for so long, and then they start, becoming a problem. So definitely consistent checkups is key.
Yes, yes, and I love it. And it was like it was this video I watched like years ago, and it was like an animation of like the heart and different organs. I don't know, you probably seen it before, but just actually the animation of just like the heart and what it's doing, and it is actually talking, and then just seeing the actual person just putting all these foreign objects in the body, and the heart was actually just talking and speaking like, can you please stop, da, da, da.
Right.
It's just kind of like, wow, like if we can really just have just more compassion of ourselves, honestly. And it just goes back to reminds me of message to the black man. We got to love ourselves self first, and love ourselves enough to make these changes in our lives, because if we actually think of our organs and what it actually goes through just to keep us alive, especially the heart.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'd be like, whoa, I am so
Man,
grateful, because
we put it through so much, 'cause like I was saying before, that it's autonomous. It really doesn't need the body doesn't need us the way we think. If we do right by it, if we do what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us to do, then our bodies take, they do for themselves. Fasting is another great way to improve cardiovascular health. It is great at giving the body time to bounce back. And the heart loves that.
yeah.
Like, you're giving the heart a break. It's like, man, heart feel like you did 16 hours on an overnight
Yeah.
shift. You go fast, it's like taking a day off, right? So it's fasting is important. Being able to take those breaks and to let the body, recuperate and rejuvenate from the stresses in our lives is very important.
I love how you broke that down. It's like when you fast, you're giving a harder break. Like,
Right,
woo, I
right.
needed this a day off. Looking.
About time.
Oh, wow, Brother Tariq. Thank you so much. This was such a great discussion, such a well needed topic of cardiovascular wellness, understanding and managing heart health. I would also like to thank my amazing audience and Healing Tribe for joining us today. I pray that this episode was informative, valuable, and also healing to you all. Also, be sure to share, like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of upcoming episodes, any of our on our favorite podcast station, which is Closing the Gap Broadcast on Facebook, CTG Broadcast on YouTube, and of course, no other than Hello with Angelica podcast on Facebook and YouTube to help spread this message of healing to those in need. Also, if you are ready to start your healing journey but don't know where to start, Healing with Angelica is here to assist. Get started on your healing journey today by texting the word READY to 937-313-2466. Information will also be shown on your screen below, including the Healing Tribe merch, as well as my new ebook, Thrive, a guide for young Black women to reconnect with self and God, is available for purchase for a special price for today only. We're doing $8.88. Y'all go ahead and get that thing, okay? As today is a special manifestation day. So
Okay.
also another friendly reminder that any purchases that you guys make will help to sustain and support Healing with Angelica podcast. So just keep that in mind. Brother Tariq, before we end today's show, do you have any closing remarks for our audience today?
Absolutely. Get trained in CPR and first aid. Like, real talk. Because, well, I'm not just saying that because I'm an instructor and nothing like that, but we have to think about it like this. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said he wanted 10,000 fearless, right? He said he wanted us to take back our communities. one of the ways we can do that is by being able to respond to our loved ones when something happens to them. You know, growing up in the hood or what have you, or ghettos as they like to call it. You know, sometimes we see our brothers get shot. Sometimes we see our brothers and sisters, whatever happens to them. We want to be able to respond to that individual, right? Until advanced help arrives. What better way to take back our communities than being able to respond to something, respond to our brother or our sister who's unconscious by whatever it is that they're going through, or being able to reduce or stop a bleed if somebody gets shot or what have you, or somebody's having difficulty breathing or different things along those lines. So I encourage anybody to get CPR and first aid trained. I'm actually going throughout the region, the Mid-Atlantic region. I've gotten requests to come to other states as well to train people in CPR and first aid. So they have not only the skills, but of course the certification to really make a difference in their lives, because the skills help you with your confidence. You know, somebody may fall out in front of you, but you panic because you don't know what to do. Exactly. But if you're trained in what to do and you're comfortable in doing it, then you're going to respond to that individual, and you may be able to bring them back, or may be able to make a difference with that individual. You know, because you were trained and you have the skills to do so, and you're comfortable in doing it. And that's the one thing I do. Whenever I teach, I make people comfortable with the skills that they learn. So I just encourage people to do that. Also, every Thursday, and this is replacing the STEM files, to be honest. So every Thursday, STEM files, 6 p.m. Eastern time, Facebook and YouTube at the STEM files. We highlight the best and the brightest in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics in the Black and brown community. We share all kinds of stories from all kinds of people, even STEM enthusiasts, people who love STEM. You know, but we strive our best. Brilliant engineer, myself, Sister Dr. Joy, the chief mechanic. We make sure that we, you know, give to you individuals and stories that you don't hear in mainstream media, right? Yeah. We got brothers building machines and pulling water out the air, making gallons of water for whole communities. Yes. So we gotta, you know, tap into what builds a nation, and those are the STEM fields, those are the trades, those are the different things that show us how stuff works. Yeah. We shout out to the STEM file, shout out to my team, shout out to the Ministry of Health and Human Services. If you want to make a difference in your community, join the 9 ministries. But that's all I'm gonna plug. And of course, all newspaper. You gotta support the Final Call.
Yes. I love it. And I'm so glad you brought up CPR. That was actually something I wanted to mention. Wasn't a question I had on here, but I know you traveling around the world trying to give us that good old training. Now you coming to Ohio one of these days? I know we.
Oh, is that where you are?
I'm in Ohio, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can do, yeah. If y'all have me, I would love to come over.
Yeah, that is such an important skill to learn, like just in general, like especially like I know I said I wanted to do that because I have a younger I have a 3-year-old, who knows if he choke on something. I tell my son, like, listen, I do not know CPR, so don't do nothing, So yeah.
Well, if he's choking, it won't be CPR, but it'll definitely be some measures you can take to get him straight. But
okay, yes sir, I love it. And please shout out to the STEM files. I just want to give a shout out to all of the podcasts that is going on just within the nation. Like, we are really taking our time to give you guys just the best content, the best episodes, the best information out here, not to just not just to save your life, but to help save others. You may see an episode that may be beneficial for someone else that you may know. So just be a sharer of good news, So I love it. Make sure you guys check out STEM Files, and shout out to my brother Tariq. Again, thank you for joining us today, and thank you to my Healing Tribe for joining us as well. And we leave you all as we came. Assalamu alaikum. Peace, healing, and light.
Alaikum salam.